Hi there, this is Jennifer. Welcome back to Crafting in Carrollville. I feel like I should say a big welcome back to myself. I've been absent for quite some time. As you know, I had some trouble with my eyes. Anyway, so we're just working on one single project today, and it's a silverware box that I picked up at the Goodwill bins. Super excited about this project. I think these things are so easy to find. I see them all the time. I had never picked them up before, but I did this time. I got three of them, as a matter of fact. I'm taking the hardware off of them, first of all, because obviously I'm going to refinish the hardware. It just has this one little drawer pull on it, but I actually add hardware to it. It also has hinges on the back, obviously, because that top lifts up. So I do actually do a finish on those as well. I cleaned this out really good. I took all the velvet out. Now listen, this was the very worst part about the project. Like I have two more and I'm super excited about doing them, but I'm going to have to get amnesia first because I don't want to repeat the process I had to do to get all that velvet out of there. So I've cleaned these up really well and now I'm just going to paint every part of this box with sawmill gravy. It's a Dixie Belle paint. It's a really nice smooth chalk paint. It does take two coats to cover this wood, but it does cover it entirely. Um, I don't see any wood coming through, and it's a really nice finish. Oh, now these are bathroom cows. Let me tell you about these. These were my number one bestseller at both of our shows last month and in September, or this month and in September. I made 20 sets of those for our first show and had to come and make 20 more sets for our second show. Our second best seller was these waffles and ginger pieces that you watched me make a few videos back. I made the frames and I used my own specialty decoupage paper. In these particular projects, I made two. For our first show, they both sold for $125 each, and then I came home and made two for our second show. The two for our second show took me about twice as long, maybe three times as long, maybe four times as long, because after our first show of the season in September, I came home. Our show was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By Monday, I had suffered a severe loss of vision and had to go to the eye doctor for some injections. I had my second injection yesterday, day before yesterday, and I am seeing somewhat better. Um, I'm definitely not seeing how I was seeing. I do see that that's a little bit blurry on the back end there. It's actually good news that I can see that. But anyway, getting back to our project, I'm painting the drawer and every part of this box with sawmill gravy, and it does take two coats, like I said. This is going to be a decoupage project, and ironically, this is something that I'm going to use to keep my decoupage paper in. So I was a little excited about this project because I knew I would have an immediate use for it. I've been looking for something great to put my papers in, and this is just the right size. And actually, the papers come folded very nicely and packaged very nicely, so I don't even have to open them. I can just put them in there and use them as I need to. I'm not going to paint the inside of this box. We're going to give that a different finish. We're going to line the inside of the box with fabric, which I'm super excited about. You've watched me do that with suitcases before, and that's just a super like bougie finish to give a box like this. It's going to look really pretty. Not quite as bougie as velvet and not quite as hard to remove as velvet. I'm going to be talking about that for a while because it and you know what? It was sort of a universal thing when I looked up all these silverware box makeovers on Pinterest. I only saw this terrible before picture that you're looking at now. Like it was just awful, and it was so hard to find an after picture. I feel like they just gave up. Like I don't want to do this project anymore. This is what I did. I took the velvet out, but I'm sure people finished the project. But I didn't see very many finished projects. I saw a lot of in process pictures of people trying to fight with that velvet. It was stuck in there really good. It took a lot of brute strength and a lot of heat from the heat gun. Now I've got my box all painted. It's a nice smooth finish. I love this Dixie Belle paint. I have several cans of Dixie Belle paint I still need to go through. Been trying to still work through all those things I have in my stash. Now we're going to decoupage this image that I got from Zazzle onto this box. These are some beautiful little ducks. I think they're ducks. They might be geese. I don't know. But I think they're ducks. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to use Mod Podge to as my adhesive to decoupage this onto this box. Usually I thin my Mod Podge down, but I didn't bother this time, and you're going to see that I use an extremely thin layer, very evenly spread, and that's how I get my best results with decoupage. I'm also going to use this balled up piece of saran wrap to use instead of my fingers as I smooth the paper down. That's a great tip. I'm sure you've seen other creators do this all the time, and we do that so that we're not creating heat with our fingers, and it keeps the paper from tearing. So you'll see that I'm using just a very light, thin coat of Mod Podge. I've done my anchor strip, and now I'm going to do sections of it across one way, and then I will turn it on my Lazy Susan there and do the other side. I forgot I had this Lazy Susan, and it's literally been under my feet, right where I have my feet in on my craft table. There's a cubby, and every time I forget that it's there, and it's it's super handy to have. I should use it all the time. Now I'm going to do the second side of this beautiful paper. Um, Y'all know I talk about this all the time. I have a Zazzle store where I sell my own decoupage paper, but I love to buy others' papers as well. The Waffles and Gingers paper that I showed you earlier in the video, I have beta tested that for you, and that has sold so well. Absolutely everything that I made with Waffles and Ginger on it sold at our last two shows. So if you want to buy my decoupage paper to work with yourself, I'll put the link in the comments, and it's titled Waffles and Ginger. You can buy it on Zazzle. It will come to you straight from them, and it has been my best seller this show season. My sister also has used it a few times in her booth in North Carolina, and she has done really well with it as well. Also, several people have commented to me that they have also used it and it is sold. Now you'll see I'm adding a frame to the top of my box. I'm just using, this is just a cut off piece of trim that I had on hand. I got this trim at Home Depot. I'm using wood glue and hot glue to put it on the top of my box. I did that because obviously the paper doesn't reach all the way to the edge, and I feel like I can make the box a little more substantial and really look more like artwork if I frame this out. And then you're going to see that I'm going to add some other things that will also embellish our box as we go. I just I didn't I didn't have to miter the corners, but I did because these corners are going to be covered anyway. You could have just done a butt up frame and just made a straight cut, and that would have been fine as well because the corners are going to be covered. So, but I just, one side was already mitered, so I just went with it. And you can see, for somebody that can't see very well, I got my miters pretty tight, didn't I? I've been working a lot by feel and a lot by just sheer determination, but I do want you to know that my vision had digressed to legally blind in my right eye. I'm blind in my left eye, but I had had a major loss of vision, and I did undergo 2 injections, and now I'm up to 20/60 in my right eye. So I'm getting there. I feel like if I can regain those, I was 20/20 before this started, acuity wise. Of course, your vision involves so much more than acuity. Now I am using my air dry clay. I'm using the DOS brand and just a variety of molds that I have. I'm using some roses and some leaves and some rose buds to create swags on each of the corners of this box. Um, it, you know, I sped this way up because I don't think it's super fun to watch molds come out this way. It's not fast, it's not pretty, it's messy, it's it's not my favorite thing to do, much less watch. Anyway, so it takes me a while to get all four of these corners covered the way I want them, and I didn't try to make them the same at all. I sort of worked with the area that was in the picture. So each corner is a little bit different, and I just worked with what was there in the corner and what I wanted to cover or not cover. So I did put some thought into it. So you know that when you're using clay in your molds, you want to dust each opening with cornstarch. So you can see I have my cornstarch out there and a brush, and I just lightly brush each opening with cornstarch as I go. And then every time you want to use that same mold again, I dust it again with cornstarch. When I'm done with my molds, I don't know about y'all, but I throw them in my sink and soak them really well and clean them before I put them away. Otherwise, they tend to get pretty dirty. Like I said, I am doing something different on each corner, the same elements, but just a different arrangement, different sizes, and just a different layout, just to keep it interesting. I actually so much prefer to work with resin, but this is sort of a layered effect because, first of all, I'm working, on the frame and then the surface of the box itself. So clay is much easier to do in this way than resin. I do love the way this project comes together. I can't wait to do the next ones. I'm super excited. I have a great idea. The other boxes that I have, the other silverware boxes that I have are actually much prettier than this one. So I'm actually really anxious to get started on them, but it's going to have to be a day when I don't mind going out in my workshop and just doing something tedious. And you know what? I do have days like that where I'm just like, I don't really feel like being artistic. I'll just do something that I know needs to be done. So, and that's always, I mean, honestly, if you're a creator, we all have days like that where we're not super creative, but we can still be productive. So, I do like to come out here and just do things that are productive. While I was down for the count and not able to create much because I really couldn't see very well, I did come out and just work on cleaning my workshop and getting rid of things, purging a little bit, things like that that are useful, not necessarily fun, not necessarily inspiring, but definitely necessary. So I did try to spend my time, and you know what? I was exhausted. I spent a lot of time just resting because my brain was trying to function and make up for what I wasn't seeing, if that makes sense. So I spent a few days being very, very tired because my brain was trying to help my eyes put together what wasn't there. So, but thankfully, over the last few days, I have had major improvements in my vision. So, thank you for praying. Thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate it so very much. Now I'm painting my molds. They've dried. I've let them sit overnight. FYI, I never let things sit overnight, not once ever. But I had, you know, I hadn't crafted for such a long time that I was fine going in the house and just letting those things dry overnight. I wasn't in a hurry for some reason. I just mixed up this paint. I didn't have any paint that was ready to go in these particular colors that I needed. So you can see on my plate there, I just poured a bunch of paint and then mixed them together to make them match as much as I could. And then, of course, I'm coming in with wax, and that's going to add that. If you notice the picture itself, the colors are a little dingy. They're more warm than the colors I'm putting down right now. So I am going to come in with some wax, and that will warm those colors up. Right now, and it's true, like look at it. Doesn't it look like a birthday cake? Doesn't it look like if the ducks weren't there, you should just write Happy Birthday Jennifer across it or something like that? That's how it looks to me. In fact, you know, I probably got a little discouraged about that at one time. I thought, well, this isn't quite turning out the way I want. Looks like I want to eat it more than I want to keep working on it. But anyway, I'm just being silly, but I didn't really worry about taking my time necessarily to paint. Like it wasn't a super tedious thing. I just got the color on there because wax is going to fix all the problems. It's going to make all the imperfections just sort of go away. Here I am. I'm using this glaze that I got at Hobby Lobby. It was on clearance. But really it's basically just like antiquing wax. It doesn't smell. It's pretty thick and it's easy to wipe back. It's not like, like the Dixie brand, the Dixie Belle brand of wax. Here I am. I'm just using gold rub and buff on my hardware. I'm going to add a little knob to the top that lifts up, and then that drawer pull was already on there. But I'm using gold rub and buff to improve the finish. That original drawer pull was just a little brass. It was tarnished and didn't have, a great finish on it. But that gold rub and buff really warms things up and I love it. And I'm using what's left over on my brush here of the gold rub and buff to just go over those roses and some of those leaves to add some warmth because they still are just a little bit too cool for me. And I really am trying to lose that birthday cake look. That really bothered me. The more I thought about it, the more it bothered me. But obviously, that brown glaze does what I want it to do. It gets in all those details and makes those petals and leaves just really pop. So I love that. In any situation, I really love that. I do have some really exciting ideas coming up. Now that I can craft again, I'm going to be super busy in my workshop every week again, creating for shows because everything that I created for these last few shows sold. Like if I made it on YouTube and I took it to a show, I don't have it anymore. So that was super exciting. I did meet some of my subscribers, several of them. I met Bobby Joe. I met, gosh, I forget the other woman's name, but she was actually at the show as a vendor. And I popped in her booth to invite her to my YouTube channel. And she was like, I already watch you. And so she introduced herself. I think her name was Kathy. And so I met a lot of people at our show that watch our YouTube channel. So that was super exciting. I love I love to be out there meeting people. I have to admit, at our second show, I was a little discouraged because I was dealing with these vision issues, but I still had a great show. We had a wonderful time. I had to come back and make 20 more of those bathroom cows. I told you that. Actually, 40 more because I made 20 sets. Here I am. I think, oh, I'm putting the hardware back on my drawer, and I've already drilled a hole up there on the top because I'm adding a little knob to the top so I can lift the top up. These little silverware boxes, if you see them at thrift stores, I hope this encourages you to buy them and to, be inspired to make them over because I think they're even better than suitcases, honestly, because they're more sturdy. They're actually made of wood. I love them. I am fitting this cardboard paper. It's not cardboard. You know what it is. You buy it in a pack, and we used them at the library when we did busted canvases. But I am going to wrap that in cloth so that I can use that as an insert for the bottom of my box here. I'm going to line the edges with an old vintage sheet. This is actually an old fitted sheet, but you know how elastic loses its elasticity as you wash it? Well, this is one of those old sheets and the elasticity has worn out. So I'm just pulling it taut so that yeah, I can use the hem because I am not getting my sewing machine out right now. Like I just that's one frustration I can't be dealing with right now. So I'm I'm using this sheet because it has a hem on it, even though it's a fitted sheet, and I'm just pulling it really tight. So the elasticity is pretty much gone anyway, and also it gives it that look that old suitcases have, where that like they have this puckered pouch and things like that. You know what I'm talking about? I'm just using hot glue to attach this around the top of all four sides. I'm using my precision My precision tip hot glue gun. This is the first time in my life I burn myself, pretty often, just because I think all crafters do, and my fingers are pretty much immune to it. But this is the first time in my life that I just kept sticking my fingers into the glue. So if you see me like sort of ouch and move my fingers back, it's because I literally burnt every one of my fingers, sticking my fingers right into the hot glue. So not something I usually do. But I've done a lot of things that I don't usually do these last few weeks. I spent about a month not being able to see myself in the mirror. Um, I had two black holes where my eyes were supposed to be. At my last library class, I couldn't recognize anybody's faces. I couldn't see my husband's face. My kids sent me pictures of their kids, and I couldn't see my grandkids' faces. Um, it was pretty scary, if I'm honest. I was scared but hopeful. And I was scared because this happened in my left eye about 13 years ago and I never recovered. So, I had a reason to be a little scared and concerned, but we also have every reason in the world to be hopeful because God is the great physician and I completely believe in his ability to heal me. I'll tell you what alarmed me. So, my eye doctor, who's usually super encouraging, came out to the front desk to hold my hand and shake my hand and console me as I left. And that sort of threw me off and like really scared me. And then his receptionist told me that she was going to go home and light a candle to every God in the universe, and surely one of them will heal me. And two things. I was sad that she didn't know the God of the universe, and I was also a little sad that she thought it would take all the gods in the universe to heal me. So, anyway, it only takes just the one God, just so you know. But he has healed me, and I believe he will continue to heal me. So, anyway, I just told you that because we had some time to kill while I work my way around all four sides of this box. And I'm going to do the same thing with the drawer. I'm just not going to show you as I do it. And then I'm going to trim those edges because I don't want there to be a lot of bulk when I put the bottom in. So, and I'm not trimming them straight because it's so awkward to try to keep you in the loop and this in the frame. And I'm actually getting some new equipment in my YouTube studio that will help me be able to predict more accurately where my frame is. So some more permanent equipment that is going to help me. So I do have some nice people that are coming to help me accomplish that in the next few weeks. So I'm super excited about that because I need to be able to like tape off a frame on my work table and then have a permanent camera placement that I don't ever touch necessarily, that will help me have more predictability and better lighting as well. Because that's the problem I still struggle with is I know I'm not seeing light correctly, but that'll come. Anyway, so here I am just again trimming off all the excess in the middle there so it's not bulky when I put my bottom piece in there. And it's going to look so perfect and so pretty. I love the way this project turned out. I don't know why I chose this particular fabric. I hope it's not like clashing too badly. It's like it's vintage, it's old, it's roses, and so I know it's not the same colors that I used on top, but I really think it looks pretty, and also it's what I had. So I was determined that I'm not going to go buy anything to make this, project that I'm finally able to work on. And I'm in that mode again anywhere where I'm not buying things, I'm making things. Because when that's what I love about YouTube, honestly, because I can make all of these things, then I can take them to shows and they sell. So YouTube kind of keeps me motivated on that front too. It keeps me motivated to keep creating and then, to create things that I can sell. So super exciting. I just tore that fabric. If you watched, I wasn't cutting it with the scissors. I just cut, a starter cut and then tore it on all four sides. And now I'm just using hot glue like I did on the box itself, and I'm gluing that fabric around that paper. It's just a thick paper. You buy it in a pack at Walmart. They have a few different sizes. We used it at the library. I mentioned when we did busted canvases last Christmas. That's what we mounted our pictures on. We did some really cute busted canvases. I didn't ever put those on YouTube because I felt like YouTube was so saturated with that particular project that I didn't want to spend the time on it. But we made some beautiful, beautiful busted canvases last Christmas. This Christmas at the library, you won't believe it, we are doing the IOD Santa mold. The video I made 3 videos ago, where we painted the Santa face on the Santa mold. We are doing that at the library. I found a great sponsor who bought the resin for us. It takes about $100 worth of resin to create with 20 to 25 creators. So I am super excited about that. And they're getting frames, they're getting everything that that I did in that video. So that's super exciting. They are going to love it. So there is my box with the bottom in it. I've fitted it. Now I'm going to glue it in. I'm going to use some spray adhesive that I bought from Home Depot for a flooring project that we actually did in our house. And I'm going to spray it good. And then I'm also going to use hot glue along the edges and especially in those corners because obviously I don't want that to come up. If I ever want to take this out, it should be a lot easier to take out than what I took out of this box. That was terrible. Anyway, we are at the end of our video. I hope y'all enjoyed this project. Look at the finished result. I love it. I will see you all next week, and it's so great to be back on YouTube. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.